introduce everybody to our new podcast coming up, the Sound of Orange, is as we call it. Talks with me, Diego, Matt on the other side of WWE, and we're happy to have you. Today's topic is going to be how to get ourselves started at the gym, mostly because it's 2026. It's the start of the new year. I know we're going into February, but to me, I'm still in January. I'm holding on with dear life to January because I'm not ready for February just yet. So, in this way, we're just going to do a quick little introduction. So, Matt, would you be free to introduce yourself to the crowd here?
100%. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Matt Ehrlich. And yes, as Diego said, I am currently at the WWE site. And I have been in fitness now for, gosh, professionally over 10 years from being a in-person personal trainer at 24-hour fitness for many, many years, worked my way up from personal trainer to elite trainer to master trainer, then became a strength coach, which led me to becoming fitness manager. So really run through the gamut of all different positions in the fitness landscape and working with all different types of folks. So what's cool, leading into this topic, and I'll, obviously Diego, let you introduce yourself in a second, but it's just so interesting this topic of getting back into the gym because or getting started in the gym because it really was for me growing up WWE where I'm at now that got me into working out in the first place. Seeing those guys doing what they're doing out there in the ring, I was like, that's so cool. They all looked like really in shape, and that motivated me to get started. So it's funny how this kind of comes for full circle, and this really is our first topic. But it's a pleasure to meet everybody.
Oh, look at that serendipity. So, WWE, if you need a new wrestler, Matt is literally a few blocks away from you. So as you can see, Matt has a lot of experience, so the topic should be very great information that we both provide. As for me, as you guys know, my name's Diego. I'm at the Salesforce location here in Chicago. I've been at it for maybe going out 6 or maybe 7 years of being in the fitness realm. I've done from beginning the wiping machines to being the personal trainer to working with strength coaches to now being the fitness manager and now just focusing on just being a personal on demand trainer for Kinema. I'm a big kettlebell guy, so I'm a kettle fella who eats kettle corns and I swing kettlebells. It's really most of my background is going to be kettlebell heavy, but yeah, 2026 is a great way to get ourselves introduced of how we ourselves started. So Matt, for instance, WWE got him motivated. For me, it was just wanting to try to make a basketball team in high school, which spoiler alert did not make. That doesn't mean I was horrible. Does not mean I was horrible. Okay, let me tell you, 24/7, no matter where, the bank's open for me. Downtown, it's in city. I'm laying it up. I'm driving in with my car. Doesn't matter. I'm making buckets. I just happen to not be very athletic because I did not have a great foundation of what strength training was. I was just doing everything and anything that I saw on TV. So hopefully here we can guide you to great tips of how to get yourself started at your level where you're in, if you're advanced, to beginner, all the way to novice. So, Matt, what would besides WWE, do you remember your first like getting yourself actually to the gym? Like, what was your biggest challenge to get yourself to the gym? Because we all have challenges, especially when it comes to starting it off. It's the hardest thing to just get ourselves going.
100%. I think in the beginning, what's tricky is it's like you're trying to define why you're in there in the first place. Like for me, it was like wanting to get stronger, wanting to, put on muscle tissue, wanting to, because growing up, I was a skinny guy, naturally skinnier. So for me, it was trying to put on some mass, and it was like, how do I do that? And then you walk in, it's like, well, I'm going to go to the gym, but there's so many different machines. It's so many different exercises you can do. So many people doing different things. It's like, how do I even know where to start? And that's where it can get a little bit overwhelming in the beginning. So what I did in the beginning was I went with a buddy, and we would just work our way down the line of machines. I was like, all right, well, if we just kind of work on this a little bit, with 3 sets of 10, that should be good. Didn't know what we were doing form wise, but that's kind of how it started. I don't know if you had a similar experience.
See, for me getting it started, I remember the first gym I ever went into was a Planet Fitness. So that tells you the level of
Okay.
what I had. I was like, I saw that they had free pizza, and that's technically what got me in. The marketing strategy worked.
Yes.
I was like, it worked. I was like, all right, you got me in. But really, as soon as I got there, I didn't know how to do anything. So I wasted about 3 minutes doing everything. Like instead of doing one good set, I just kind of went and played around with every machine. I was like, how do you move this? How do you move that? How do you move this? And so I didn't typically have like a plan to go move weights around. I was kind of in the gym and I was like, might as well go play with some things. But when I really got more into it, it's the thing that helped me is that I did find also a friend that wanted to work out, so we went together. So now it was a little bit more friendly and welcoming because I had companionship at the gym. So to me, that I think that was the biggest thing that really got me started is finding somebody that helped me get into the gym just to keep myself a little bit more accountable and consistent and less of a mindset of just playing around. Be like, all right, now we're both here to actually do our best. Let's keep ourselves accountable in that sense. So that to me was the
100%.
biggest indicator.
Having that accountability buddy or just somebody with you where you feel like I'm going to make myself look silly because I'm doing this thing that I've never done before. Having somebody with you that you're just sharing that experience with, that makes a huge difference. So getting started, having someone to go with you. And if you don't have someone to go with you and you're trying to figure it out on your own, that's when definitely having the guidance of a trainer really
Yeah,
makes a big difference, because what it does is it collapses time. And for a lot of folks, especially the folks that we work with in the, who work in more corporate jobs or they're very busy, we have to collapse time. We have to
mhm,
make it as efficient as possible. We don't want to spend time trying to figure all this stuff out on our own. We could, but it's like, how do I make this as efficient as possible? And in the beginning, when you don't feel comfortable with something and you're trying to get the skills necessary, so then you can go out on your own, just having that person just guiding you, whether it is a friend who knows a little bit about exercise to begin with, or it is someone who's more professionally trained, like a trainer. That
yeah.
that makes a lot of difference in the beginning, just to get that initial confidence.
Yeah. And I think also the important part of just having somebody who knew a little bit more than I did, or just the trainer itself, is a lot of the things that I thought beforehand, because I only had my own knowledge and what I heard around. So, I mean, I'm a little bit older than I look. I know I look very young, very spry. I can get it by the public. You're like, what are you, 21, 22? I understand, you know?
Not a day
But
over 25, Diego. I don't see it. Day over. I
so
don't see a day over 25.
I'm a millennial like anybody else, and before smartphones, social media were a big thing. In my high school days, what you heard was you had to Google search, like you had to go to a computer to Google search something and then fact check somebody. So you didn't have all just free information at your hand at all times, as we do now. But back then, because I only knew what I knew, I kind of was making all these false things in my head, like, oh no, if I go, I'm gonna hurt myself because I don't know what I'm doing in a sense. Oh, it was like I wouldn't get any benefits if I go there because what do I know, So all my information of thinking I don't know enough was enough of a reason for me to stop to even try. And I think that was one of my biggest like stoppers of starting to get to the gym. So that's why when I found somebody who knew more than me and be like, and technically he wasn't that much smarter than me. I was like, now realizing, looking back, I was like, huh, he didn't know anything either. I was like,
But even if you knew just a little bit, it felt like
yeah,
it was so much more because you knew nothing. And
uh,
just having someone just to give you again that
mm,
confidence to go in there and be like, oh, this person knows a little something. I've
yeah,
got a little
yeah,
protection here. That makes all the difference just getting started. Because yeah,
yeah,
I mean, when you walk in there that first time, it is so overwhelming. I mean, you got all the
yeah,
machines, the weights, the meters, the noise, all the
mm,
you got people that clearly know what they're doing, and it is trying to overcome that at first. I think that when you're starting out, to remove that confusion, one of the best tips that I can give is just having some sort of objective when you go in there. Like, because everything in there, while it can seem a little bit overwhelming, they're just tools, right?
mm,
Whether it is kettlebells or machines or treadmills or cardio, they're just tools that provide different functions that lead you to certain outcomes. So if you go and okay, I want to, let's say, get stronger, or I want to improve my cardio, or I want to improve my flexibility, that right there is going to give you a little bit of a roadmap, as opposed to, I just want to get into shape. Well, what does that mean? Then that also can lead to a little bit more of that
yeah.
confusion when getting started.
Yeah, and then after all that was said and done for me, I realized that I just debunked everything just by showing up. So a lot of the things can just happen if you show up. Is just debunking a lot of things that you thought were like, oh my god, I really thought this world was this. I can now see this world's that. So that being said, That's a great tip, by the way, to give people is to get a lay out a roadmap. What would you say are because we probably need a good amount of ideas and tips to give to the general pop that understands
Mhm.
that hey, I'm a little scared, I don't think that's enough. What would be the top like three tips that you would give you can combine to try to convince anyone to get started, just getting started? Hey, this is my three tips to really give you the best chance to keep yourself consistent, because that I think is our
I,
biggest
I,
problem is consistency.
yeah, I would say three things. I say first thing is you got to show up. Sounds simple, but that is the hardest thing for a lot of people just getting started. Walking in that door could be the toughest exercise you do. And then number two is, use basic movement patterns. You know, the body can really do at the end of the day just a handful of things. We can squat, we can hinge, we can push, we can pull, we can rotate. And all the movement patterns that we do or all the exercises are some combination of that right there. So, first thing is show up. Use different or basic movement patterns and then just repeat those weekly. Because once you start gamifying it, whatever it is that you're doing, like I'm going to, go on the treadmill and I'm going to walk today for 15 minutes. Hey, next time I'm going to walk for 20 minutes, or I'm going to lift this amount of weight. Next time I'm going to do it for 2 sets. And the next time I'm going to add, just a couple of reps of weight. Once you gamify it, then it becomes fun. Then it's like you're just beating your own records. And just to add to that, so my three things get started be show up, use basic movements, and repeat that weekly. Because here's the key: you do not need the perfect program. That is a myth. Consistency is everything. What you're doing is, like you said, when before you're learning these patterns kind of as you go. So perfection is never going to happen. And I think if you know that going in, it gives yourself a little bit of grace. You
Hmm.
kind of know, like, okay, like I'm not messing this up. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm here. I showed up. And don't worry about motivation at the beginning. You might feel a little motivated in the beginning. That's great. But let's just go through these movements. Let's see how it feels. You're probably going to move your body in a way that you never have before. Be present with that. Take that in. Be like, this is cool. Okay. I feel a little awkward. Like, enjoy that process.
Yeah.
Enjoy that.
To to me is especially the important part you said is learning to give yourself grace is I think
Mhm.
something that also needs to be like practiced a little bit more at the gym, because the thing with consistency, and then a lot of people when they still begin, like they have day one, it's like, okay, I went through the door, and they do it maybe a week or maybe two, and they see the no progress. They're like, oh, I must be doing everything horribly, I must be doing everything wrong, I'm horrible at this, why do I keep doing this? And I think practicing that grace be it's like it's a learning curve, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Like we just gotta keep on practicing, trying to get better, trying to get learning the movements as we go along, just try and again beat your own records, beat your own records. And if you don't beat your own records, that's where it's like, okay, let's give ourselves grace, we gave a good effort. And if we give effort, benefits will follow. When they follow is when they follow, the timeline will kind of be skewed, but you just got to believe that they're coming as long as you're giving yourself um, grace, effort, and consistency. You just keep showing up, just keep showing up. So I think that's a very important thing to remind our general population once they get started. It was like, hey, it's gonna be a little tough when you start out, but don't let the negative outcomes of your ideologies of what success should be kind of hurt what you're doing at the gym. Be like, oh, I failed this week, I should probably stop forever. No, just let's keep it. Let's try again. Let's try again. You know.
Yeah. And when you're starting out, the amount of stimulus that your body needs to really elicit that change you're looking for is very little. So just those little things in the beginning, just those few exercises, your body is going to yield a very large return in the beginning. So this idea that you need to go in and do 6 to 8 exercises, not true. I mean, you could get away with less than that. Just go through a couple exercises that you like that you start to get comfortable with. That's going to yield a lot of results. And the point that you made before, I walked through the door this week. Okay, well, hey, you weren't doing that last week. All right, so you walk in and then you go onto this machine. You kind of got the movement pattern down. Okay, cool. You weren't doing that last week. You weren't doing that yesterday. Like these patterns that just make you better every single time, it really does add up. So that's why if you're showing up, like you're winning.
Yeah. And for Now the portion of just showing up to get ourselves started is important, but keep ourselves consistent. That's going to be the next kind of head that we have to tackle. Is for people is like that's our tips of how to get started. So if you're trying to get started, hopefully those tips that Matt gave are very helpful to at least get yourself in the door. Now we have one portion of it, the consistency. That's going to be the next part. Is how do we advise people to be a little bit more um, intentional about their consistency? Like, how can we give you the best roadmap to stay consistent for your new year, new you, as they call 'em? You've probably heard that back and forth. Is like 2026, new year, new me,
Yeah.
and most things that you see or from the resolutions are getting yourself started to the gym.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're getting started, so the next step is okay. All right. So we showed up. So now, what do we want it to look like? Well, we want to have some sort of a roadmap of now. If you are a complete beginner and you have never walked into a gym before, I'd say walk into the door 2 to 3 times a week, and I just want and you would just walk. Let's just get walking. Let's just get on the treadmill and let's just walk. Let's just get in that habit of getting there, checking in, scanning in, doing our thing, going to the locker room, getting our water bottle, and let's just walk. Now, if you're a little bit further on than that and you want to start integrating strength training, that's when I would start going into let's do, 2 workouts a week, 2 to 3 workouts per week, 30 to 45 minutes, max. And we're just going to keep it simple. And what that does is it takes away this restriction that, oh, I need to be in there now because I haven't worked out as much as I should over the last few years. And I know I should be in there. So now I got to do 5, 6 days or be in there 7 days. It's like that couldn't be further from the truth. If I have
Agreed.
somebody starting out, though, I won't even allow them to be strength training and they're more than 3 days a week. Um, if they want to get in there because they kind of like it, that's great. Then we're walking. We're just doing a walking plan. But having that, like, okay, I know if I hit my 2 to 3 workouts per week, 30 to 45 minutes per session, I'm going to be good. And we can
Mhm.
get into in a minute kind of what that would look like a little bit more. But that's where I would start. So I have now from, okay, I'm going to the gym, I'm showing up. Now I've got much more of a framework of what that's going to look like, how many times I'm going, how long I'm going to be at the gym. And then you take it from there.
Yes, that's a good thing to point out because the all or nothing philosophy is actually very strong to the gym, where you go for it all or you just don't go for it at all. I think that's a good guideline to give yourself, like, hey, this is again step by step. We're planning little. The wall's not built by putting a big stone. You build it with little bricks as we go along.
Mm.
And so
Base
for your
hits. That's
basics,
it.
basics, and for your clients when they start off, because this is the year I get a good amount of clients in the beginning. You probably are getting a good amount of clients in the beginning of 2026. So now let's give a little bit of our key secrets as we have to give to the public of what else like we that program or that beginning initiation phase looks like to get them successful.
So I would say the big one is again, I don't allow them to do the strength training more than 3 days a week
And I like
because
that so much. I just want you to repeat it one more time so our viewers can watch and our gen pop, because some of them are like, not
yeah,
more than 3 times a week. Are you crazy,
not
man?
more than 3 times. And I'm going to explain why. Um, One, we're building up the habit, and also for a lot of people, especially in January, let's be real. I mean, that's when let's say people most of our clients, not all of them, some just want to
Yeah.
get stronger, but let's say they
Right.
want to lose weight, right?
Mhm.
Well, there's going to be a dietary component to that, right? Where maybe they're taking in a few, less calories than they used to be. And so now they've already put this stressor on their body. So, here at WWE, we are running we call it our slim down challenge.
Yeah.
And because of there's a dietary part to it where they're going to be taking in a little bit less calories than they're used to, or their diet's just a lot more organized. That's already a stressor on the body. So
Mm.
to add more to that, where you're doing these 5 to 6, workouts per week, where it's high intensity every single day, you're gonna burn out. That's why Quitter's Day is what, like the second Friday of
Yeah.
the second Friday of the month in January. All these people fall off because it wasn't strategize from the beginning, like, hey, I don't want you to go over that threshold. Because what we want is, I want clients, and this is what happens. They beg you for more workouts. They get to,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm liking this. I want more. And that's perfect because there's always time to scale up. But when you
Yeah.
get to a point where you have to scale down, that's when it's like, okay, you kind of went into the red zone a little bit, and that's where you start to lose people. So that is the biggest secret right there, is giving yourself no more than 3 days for strength training. I told them, I said, if you want to come in because you just have to be in the gym, you can do some zone two cardio. You can just walk on the treadmill, keep that heart rate between 110, 140 beats per minute. That's fine. But no more. And it really keeps for good compliance. The one last thing, Diego, that it does is in that beginning, when you're getting yourself new to when you're getting yourself assimilated to a new routine, if let's say Monday you have that workout, but you don't get to it because work and life happens,
Mhm.
you still have a little bit of wiggle room because I can do it on Tuesday. Okay, I
Yeah.
give myself some wiggle room. Well, how many times do people give themselves 5, 6 workouts a week? They miss Monday, and then they feel like the whole week is shot. Now they shut down because they feel like they're behind. They're trying to catch up. They're doing silly things like 2 workouts in one day. So this also drives compliance tremendously.
Yes, yes, yes. That is a great point you bring up. That's a great point. Because I have the same rules. I work with people 3 times a week max, and if they do want to do more, I always tell them like, well, you can do like other activities that are physical, such as like yoga. Work on
Yeah.
your mobility, like something that's gonna enhance your strength training, but you're not gonna do strength training. You can do things that will enhance it, sure. Maybe take a good nap, get the 8 hours of sleep. I would recommend that. But definitely not more than 3 times a week, unless you were training for like I don't know specific goals like marathon running or something like that, like sports specific and things like that. So if you're like a
Right.
high
We
rocks,
should be
yeah,
clear. We're talking about, yeah, more general fitness here.
yeah,
And listen, you will get in great shape on 2, 3 times a week. Yes, if you have a specific goal, whether it's a performance goal, that changes a
yeah,
little bit. But
yeah,
again, that's kind of creating the roadmap. It's like, okay, what is my
mm-hmm,
goal with this? I guess
hmm
we're speaking to more of a general fitness, get in good shape, lose some pounds,
yeah.
or just get started kind of thing. This is going to be the exact place that you should be.
And then the final thing I also want to bring up is um, I've seen in my career, it's happened to me and my clients, it's probably happened with you and your clients, probably seen it often. And we actually do talk about like the second week being uh quitter's day.
Mhm.
So now I want to address for those who actually participated in. I hope I know nobody who like participated in Quitter's Day. It's not like a holiday where you're like, oh, I can't wait for Quitter's Day. But for
Right.
those who did get into Quitter's Day, how do we reel them back? We had a tough time. I get it. The plan we gave you, you overburnt yourself or something happened. How do we make you get again back into to the routine in the best way possible? Is it um, giving us the same answer that we give to the same person? Be like, hey, this is what I think 3 times maximum. This is what you need to do. Let's try to get in. Or is it, hey, maybe that 3 times is too much. Let's cut it to 1 time. Um, or is it maybe strength training is not something you like, but we have to kind of wire the mind to do it maybe like a chore if it's not an activity that you want to do. What would be the biggest thing that you've seen, how you yourself have gotten people back in from reeling them back in from participating on quote unquote Quitter's Day? 'Cause I think
Yeah. So
that's our final generation of like people we need to address.
100%. So there's a couple things. So in the beginning, to make sure that doesn't happen, and I'll address if it does happen, what to do. But in the beginning, I always tell people, I was like, let's look at when we're starting here, right? We're starting in January. Well, what happens in January? You're probably gonna get sick at some point. Like you just have to put like stuff's gonna happen because you when you set out this goal, it's like I'm gonna do this and everything is gonna be perfect. And then, but you have to now set up like, hey, I don't know exactly what they are, but I know roadblocks are going to come up. Maybe it's a winter storm that really hits like 80% of the country
Yeah.
and you can't get to the gym, you can't get to the grocery store. Maybe it's like I said, you get sick, and that throws you off track. So having that understanding in the beginning will make you feel like you're in control because when it happens, this thing out of your control, you're like, I planned for this or I understood that this could happen, so I don't feel like I'm thrown off course. That'd be the first thing. Now, let's say it does happen and you
Mhm.
didn't have that mindset going in. Then I would say to your point, you regress um, to what you can do. So if you can't do the strength training and feel like, oh man, then you go for a walk. You just do the walks, do the steps. You stack wins, base hits. That's what I like to say. You just base hits, base hits. They both score runs. Home runs score runs and base hits score runs. I'm looking for
Mhm.
base hits. So if I can get, one day where it's like 7,500 steps, great. Let's stack that. Let's do that again the next day. And then you just kind of build up those streaks of things you can do, not focus on the things you can't do. Because it's very easy to identify and look for things that you can't do that are problems. It's like, no, no, let's look for the things that you are doing very well. Let's stack those. And then we can always add. That's what's great about fitness. We can always progress things and add things, but let's keep it basic. Let's get base hits and let's get back on track.
Wonderful. Yes, I think that's exactly what people should be doing as well. So, for those who are listening to our podcast, hopefully these things helped you to recap all the great things we went over. Was one, just getting through that door. It might not sound like that big of a challenge, but that could be the hardest exercise you ever do. You gotta get through that door, or the door meaning exercise or just habit changes in a sense where physical or mental healthier habit changes is how I'll call them. Step two is making sure we understand the real expectation and the real reality of what it is to succeed. So we don't want to go all or nothing. We want to make sure we find the good medium for the person who, if it's you, friends, partners, whoever you're trying to help, or if you're trying to help yourself, make sure you find the good medium and something that works for you. And then three would be, well, as we said, small victories is what we need to bank on. Those base hits, we need the stack wins. Once we can do point A, point B, and point C, then hopefully believe that will give us at least a strong foundation to build on. And once we have a strong foundation to build on, I think you did the toughest part. Just getting it there. So once you get that part done, the rest that you will see kind of the benefits outcome after that are going to be phenomenal, in my personal opinion. But other than that, guys, that is the time we have. That's Matt. Diego, this was the Sound of Orange. I hope this podcast was very helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. We'll try our best to address them, and we will do more episodes as we go along here. And if this was very helpful, please feel free to share, subscribe, and until next time, we shall see you then. All right. Until later.
Later. Peace, guys. Bye.